Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Progress is everything. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the 5 things or decisions, things to consider when your stock or shares that you own go down fast in a short period. What do you do? So thing to consider number 1, can you find out what caused it? The answer to this is often yes. So when a stock falls dramatically, maybe one of the companies you own falls 5-10% in a couple of days, the next thing to do in my book is to try to find out what has caused it. There's a number of ways you can do this. You can look online to see if there's been any news articles. If it's a big company, there will be news about what's happened. It might be across mainstream news like the BBC and traditional news channels, or it could be that you have to dive a little bit deeper, and it could be across the business press like Business Week or Fortune or City AM in the UK. Or if it's not there, then the next place you could try is vertical specific newspapers. So those that are ones that cover your industry or the industry that you've invested in. For example, if you're investing in franchises, there are magazines and newspapers dedicated to franchising. If it's in software, there might be coverage within software websites or magazines that cover your sector. And it might be a vertical specific or an industry specific reason. For example, stocks might fall if you're investing in a product company. They may fall if there's concerns about supply chain issues or costs increasing because of currency fluctuations. That's another thing that can crop up. So to recap, you can check the mainstream news, then business news, and then industry news. And if nothing has come up there, think about the macro picture. So that's what I mentioned earlier about maybe think about currencies, if anything's happened there. Typically, when I find that one of my stocks has gone down in a sharp way, I Google it with the company name and something will come up anyway. So you might not need to look at like the BBC or go around the route. It might just come up. If it doesn't come up, then you can look at that route. The second thing that you need to look at when this has happened, one of your stocks has fallen and you may be feeling a bit concerned, is to ask yourself the question, will this get worse or will it repeat? Now, you've done step 1, so you've found the issue, so you know what has caused it, and then you can ask yourself, will it repeat? For example, if it's to do with currency fluctuations, nobody really knows where currencies are going to go, and if anyone tells you they do, then ignore them, because there's very few people in the world that know what's going to happen with currencies, and so ignore anyone that's saying what they know what's going to happen with currencies. But if it's a supply chain issue, you can ask yourself the question, is it likely to continue or to get worse? If you don't know yourself, you can ask people in industry, you can go on Twitter, of course you can ask our community, you can put it in the comment section below, but there might be other communities online and forums where you can go. If it's a big stock, it's well covered, you can go on places like Reddit or Quora and you can ask the question, or indeed you can email the directors of the company or the investor relations department and they may get back to you. You can ask specific questions about things like supply chain issues. If all of that fails, then you can attend the AGM, and that's your time, the annual general meeting as an investor, where you can ask your burning questions about anything, and that's where 9 times out of 10 they will answer and they will give you their response about what's happening and how they see the future going. The third thing to think about is how quickly can it be fixed? So if it can be fixed, you need to ask yourself, what's that time frame? If it's only a matter of days, weeks, or maybe just a month, it's unlikely to affect the share price much. Now, if it's already fallen 10-15%, depending on the sizing of the sizing factor of that risk, you need to do that exercise beforehand, but depending on that and how quick the company can fix it, you can almost track it in your mind or on an Excel spreadsheet or something like that. How much will it impact the company in the future? Now, because there's so many different contexts here and you might have 1 or 2 stocks in your mind, I won't be able to comment on specific stocks on this video, but I can mention a scenario that's happened to me very recently. And I think it's really telling because there are a lot of reasons why stocks go up and down, and often it's driven primarily by greed or fear. And a good example of this is one of my companies which has done exceptionally well, and it's doubled in the last year, which is pretty good, but it's fallen over 10% in a couple of days. I approached it in the exact same way as I'm sharing in this video, and that's the reason why I made this video actually. And it's very strange because I did the research and I found the reason very quickly. It's because the CEO was selling some shares. He sold £10 million worth of shares, and I'm like, wow, yeah, okay, that's interesting. Probably the whole market has thought maybe the CEO has lost faith or whatever. But then I looked a little bit deeper and I found that the CEO still owns 24% of the company. So when I was sizing that risk, had the CEO sold 90% of his shares, I probably would have been a bit more concerned, but he sold a very small percentage of his overall holding. So what that means is I kind of size that risk to be, it's quite a small risk, right? But what's happened in the market is everybody has reacted from that fear, and I think there's been an overreaction. So in that scenario, the next thing you need to do is to quantify, has it been an emotional drop or is it related to the future prospects of the business? That's number 4. And in this scenario, I don't think it's going to change the trajectory of the business at all. It's not going to change anything. We have no idea why why any director buys or sells shares. Often they get it wrong themselves, by the way, so I wouldn't read too much into that. But in this scenario, he could be buying a house, and he could have a tax bill. That happened to Elon Musk. He has to sell lots of shares in his company Tesla because he has a massive tax bill. So there's loads of reasons. So answering question point number 4, was it emotional? Was it to do with the prospects of the business? It's not to do with the prospects of the business. It's a personal thing with the CEO. Does he still own lots of shares? Yes. It's not going to affect things in the future. And that leads us to thing number 5, and that is, what is your next step? You have 3 options. You can either buy more, you can hold and do nothing, or you can sell some of your shares or all of them. In this scenario, I've sized my risk. I don't think it's going to change the story in any way, the trajectory of the company. It's not going to change any of the plans of the company. It's still going to do very well. So I am not going to sell. I am looking to find ways to buy more. So that's the main thing. Sometimes when stocks fall, it's a great opportunity to consider, why am I in this stock? What's the story behind this stock? How has this changed? Should I be selling? Should I be buying more? A lot of ways to make a lot of money, or the best ways to make a lot of money, is when you're reviewing this process and making those decisions whether you should sell or buy more. In my experience, it's not actually finding the stock, it's actually when to sell or when to buy more. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that it's provided a lot of value. If you have, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon button, and of course that like button. Guys, I really enjoy making these videos, and I hope you enjoy watching them as well. If you think that anybody in your circle of friends or family would benefit from watching these videos, make sure to share it with them. Remember that knowledge is power, especially the right kind of knowledge, and progress is everything. I'll see you guys in the next video.